Welcome back to another video. My name is Henrik and today we're going to do a range test and consumption test with this Ioniq 6 with the rear-wheel drive variant and the 77.4 kilowatts in our battery and also the 18-inch rims, meaning we would be able to get the most amount of range. However, one thing that we do not have is the digital side mirrors. That would bring the coefficient down. This is the most efficient car that Hyundai has ever made, or the least drag coefficient car with a 0.21. And we're going to take it for a drive on the Autobahn. We're going to drive it at 80 kilometers or 100 behind a truck. Then we're going to go 120, 140 and also top speed, which is 191 on this car. We're going to cut to the consumption at the end. We're going to look at the range that we theoretically would get with this car. We're going to look at how much that would cost us and how long those trips took us. It's going to be a journey of around 88 kilometers each way. So in conclusion, almost 400 kilometers that we're going to drive with this car. It does look fairly funky in my opinion, but if you want a full in-depth review of this car, there's going to be a video on the top right corner. And also, if you are interested in this video, one quick reminder is, or one quick thing that is going to happen now, the 80 kilometers an hour test is not going to be filmed theoretically, because we are doing two cars right now. There's another car right back there, which is the new Volkswagen Passat that we're also putting onto a range test. So it's going to be two videos that we're creating while driving this. So I'm only going to be talking in the top speed run and also the 120 kilometers an hour speed. So let's get right to those and cut back to you at the end. So you might be able to see it's a different day now. That is due to the fact that it is Sunday, and Sunday is a good day in Germany to drive a little bit faster on the Autobahn, because non-essential trucks are not allowed to drive on the Autobahn, meaning trucks that are not being cooled or have food, for instance, on them. So only stuff that is very essential for the economy. So what we're going to do is we're going to drive the 120 kilometers an hour and also the top speed run, because I don't have time for the 140 and the battery charge wasn't high enough for me to drive 100 kilometers down with 140. So sorry about that. But we're still going to be able to do this now. We're going to drive 120. I've just reset it and also reset the tripometer, and cruise control is all on, meaning there's no truck. So we should be able to reach a fairly high speed and close to the 120. So let's see what we get. Let's also quickly talk about the interior of this car, because personally I'm not a big fan of it. We do have the Ioniq package in here, and we also have all this white and kind of like beige. It's not even white, it's like beige and gray look in here, and it is just very outdated in my opinion. The color scheme in here just looks like you'd find in an old person's car, or one that you'd find in the 60s, 70s kind of car, like in the Cadillac, an old Cadillac, which doesn't look bad in an old Cadillac, but it doesn't fit in here in my opinion. You have a ton of storage space, but the materials also isn't that great. You might think that this is like a nice material in here, but this is hard plastic. And then where you touch, obviously where you have your arm, it's nice material, but the other thing is just, it doesn't, I don't know, it's not my kind of taste. The infotainment display and the way it's laid out, I really do like it. Like I said, ton of storage space. You have inductive loading. You don't have Apple CarPlay or Android Auto wirelessly. And the steering wheel is also very nice in my opinion. The infotainment display is also nice. The cruise control also works very nice, or the travel assist. The one thing I also noticed about it, it doesn't slow down very quickly, which is just a gentle slowdown, which is also very good. But it does not detect automatic speed sign, but that is due to the fact, because if you get this car, you get so many annoying sounds that it comes with. Every time there's a new speed sign, it does a boink. Every time you are 1 kilometer over the speed limit, it does a boink. Every time there's a car on your left when you're trying to turn, it does a boink. I turned all of those off, and then it's really, really comfortable to drive. But the one thing it does, it also turns off the speed sign detection. So it doesn't show you what sign how fast you're supposed to go. It just shows 3 dots, as you can see right up there. And then it doesn't show you how fast you're going. The cruise control doesn't work, because it doesn't automatically slow down to those speeds. You have to do it manually, and that takes a little bit of time, because it does it in 10 steps or in 1 steps, but the 10 steps takes like 3 seconds to activate. So it takes a little bit of time. Otherwise, really comfortable in here. You do have climate control or ventilated, there we go, ventilated seats, which are really nice, especially in these temperatures, currently around 24 degrees outside, and it's nice in those temperatures. Why haven't anybody thought about ventilated steering wheels? That's one thing that just came to you, with heated steering wheels, but I've never seen a car with ventilated steering wheel, because especially when you start or the sun comes on here, I don't want to touch it because it's so warm. Why has nobody thought about that? I'm a genius. Okay, I gotta patent that. Or maybe somebody's thought about it and it's completely flopped. That might be the case as well. And the time has come to do our top speed run. This is going to be, well, a little bit faster. We're going to go into sport mode, obviously. And we're going to flow it and see how fast we can go. Obviously, we don't have the all-wheel drive system variant, so we get that 320 plus horsepower. We only have the little one with the rear-wheel drive system, so I think 229. And the top speed, our GPS or our tachometer says 191. GPS probably 185, somewhere right around there, or maybe even 180, and it shows a little bit wrong. But that, well, hopefully we should be able to get a fairly high average speed now. And if we could even reach it with, well, we got 90% battery, so we should be fine when it comes to reaching it with full speed home. 447 kilometers of range, that's what it says. You definitely hear a lot of wind noise now. I have to speak up quite a lot to speak a lot faster. When we're driving earlier, I thought that was fairly quiet. This still feels fairly quiet at 190, to be honest. Obviously, you're not going to be driving it too much, but there is a little bit of a wind sound that is fairly dominant on the right pillar right there. But not as dominant as, for instance, on the Skoda Enyaq, because it's such a bigger car. On there, it felt a lot louder due to the fact that you obviously have those big side mirrors, which you don't have on here too big. But it feels very stable at high speeds, because it is also fairly low to the ground. I gotta say, it drives very nicely at these speeds. And the suspension really does do a good job keeping me basically straight and very comfortable as well. And I gotta say, with the heated seats and the cooled seats in here, it is just very comfortable. Only massage function, just the only thing that is missing. Ventilated and massage seats at these temperatures would just be amazing and that would make my day. But ventilated seats already, that's just the best thing. And the brakes also work very nicely without obviously extra recuperation that you get. The brakes do a good job. In the Skoda Enyaq, for instance, they were, well, not that, I didn't feel comfortable driving them at higher speeds because we did also have drum brakes at the back, and just a big amount of gap that you had between full pedal extension and actually brake power wasn't that nice in my opinion. So 120, let's see how fast we accelerate. 140, 150, 160, 170, 180, and top speed. So not too bad. Completely doable if you're going over long journeys. Currently an average consumption of 44.4 kilowatts an hour. Yeah. Let's now take a look at the average consumption, the average speed, the total trip time, the total theoretical range, and also the cost that you'd spend on each of those 88 kilometers trip. First up is the 100 kilometers an hour behind the truck. There we got an average consumption of 10.4 kilowatts an hour with an average speed of 81 kilometers an hour, and the trip time took us 66 minutes. With that, you'd get a total range of 744 kilometers if you were to do that. 100 kilometers will cost you €5.09. That is calculated with the M plan from ENBW, which is $5.99 per month, plus the 49 cents per kilowatt, which you'd have to spend. For the 120 kilometers an hour test, we had an average consumption of 14.9 kilowatts an hour, with an average speed of 108.4 kilometers an hour, and the total trip took us 49 minutes. With that, you get a total range of 519 kilometers. With the ENBW plan, it'll cost you €7.30 per 100 kilometers, or per 100 kilometers. With the 140 kilometers an hour test, we had an average consumption of 19.1 kilowatts an hour. The average speed was 126 kilometers an hour, and it took us a total of 42 minutes. With that, you'd get a total range of 405 kilometers, which is still very good. And the total consumption would cost you €9.36 per 100 kilometers. And now the top speed run was 25.5 kilowatts an hour, so a big increase right there, almost 6 kilowatts an hour increase. The average speed in there was 139.7, so a fairly decent speed as well, and it took us a total of 38 minutes. The total estimated range would theoretically be 304 kilometers if you were to start at 100% and drive it down to 0. The average cost that you'd spend there per 100 kilometers would be €12.49, which again is quite a lot. If you guys did enjoy this video, make sure to like and subscribe so we can produce more of these kind of contents in the future. And again, thank you very much for the support on the first video of this from the Skoda Enyaq. That was really well received from you guys, and I appreciate all the support you're giving me there. So we'll see you next time. Have a good one. Until then, bye bye.